Well, there are lots of places in the world that have a lot of beautiful um, buildings and history and all that kind of stuff. I think Santa Fe is more it's a feeling, it's a way of living and being. There are a lot of people who come here. Well, I don't know. They get enamored with some level of the place, but it can be kind of shallow. So you can get a story that's a veneer, and uh, a lot of the tourists, I think, see that piece of it. Um, I think you have to descend a little bit deeper in order to get a feeling for the place, and you have to engage with some of the grittier parts of life in the area, not because they're ugly, but because they represent a whole history, a whole historical way of being and existing. So my name is Tomas Romero. In my work, I'm the executive director of the Northern Rio Grande National Heritage Area, which is all of north central New Mexico. I think when people come here and they fall in love with it, they first fall in love with the environment, the beautiful sunshine and skies. And there are a lot of people who get engaged with the cultural differences. And then there's the whole art mecca kind of a draw that brings people in, So people interested in visual arts or performing arts or whatever. You have that in other places, but you find it here in a very deep way.
It's a tapestry of life, and I feel so privileged to have had the opportunity to discover this place and come here and raise my three children here. Okay, I'm Catherine Flynn. I go by Kathy Flynn. I am the executive director of a nonprofit organization um, that's called the National New Deal Preservation Association. I'm also the director of the New Mexico chapter of the National New Deal Preservation Association. I feel honored to have had the opportunity in this particular job as the director of the New Deal Preservation to preserve the beautiful art and history of all of the different ethnic groups. I mean, the Native American art, the Hispanic art, the music, all of that is what we try to preserve and have people become aware of how it was preserved and keep that moving forward.
The majority of people in this town I think are baby boomers, and they were either passing on, unfortunately, or fortunately, and the town's just in this like flip, and I think that's exciting to me. I'm excited to see that happen. Um, there's a lot more things that are happening and kind of sprouting here and there that attends to youth culture or the demographic of, like, I don't know, 20 to 35 who doesn't want to go to a bar every night and drink. And I think that's why too, like, any young person you meet, they're like, "Who are you?" Like, yeah. Haven't seen, it's like exciting.
But it's interesting to show up somewhere and then just become friends with people pretty instantaneously. Like, especially with Honey, like when it was like
instant.
It was like, all right, we got.
It was
good,
your first
yeah.
day, and we were already cracking jokes.
Yeah.
I think growing up in a smaller town like Santa Fe, a lot of young people that I know, it's common to complain that there's not a lot of nightlife, there's not a lot of more youth-centric nightlife or opportunity. But in my view, that's always been created, and some of the best spaces, some of the best arts opportunities are created out of that void and that need to have space because people are going to create no matter what. So I'm just playing one small part in kind of trying to lift up everything that I'm already seeing is happening here. And I've always seen it's happening here. Now I'm just older and have more resources to do that. But I do very much believe that it will continue to grow, and there's the types of growth the city faces and gentrification and creative people having to leave, people not being able to live and work in the towns that they're from, and that's a concern here just as much. So I think moving forward, because I'm creating spaces, that's still a concern of mine, and is something that with the growth, how can we still, be a voice with the city and their ideas around planning that includes a lot of different voices in that.
I've always been able to accomplish what I want to in Santa Fe. I'm very nourished by Santa Fe and its community, and would be happy to stay here. If it were just like for musical reasons, I would have no reason to leave. It's really the sort of cost of living and the fact that like employment for a young person is pretty difficult to find here. It's like a rich retirement town. it's pretty gnarly to try and scrape a living together. There is a scene, but it's a real loose coalition. Everybody's really doing something different from everybody else. So like we play sort of garage punk. There's no other kind of garage punk band playing in Santa Fe, that's not a statement of like arrogance. It's just like we're kind of doing our own thing, and so is everybody else, which is really cool because everybody is doing really different music and really exciting stuff, and everybody supports each other, but it's like weirdly all kind of like this collage, which is one reason I really appreciate playing music here.
Test. Test, 1, 2. Welcome to Rock and Roller, Santa Fe's only roller rink. We'll show you around. So this is music and DJ, the two owners of Rock and Rollers. They did karaoke. They moved here, I think, from Boulder back in the 80s. And they started just doing karaoke, and then they found this place. It used to be an old church that you can see over here. It was an old church, and this was the mural of the church. You don't see him, but Moses is behind this banner here. He was parting the Red Sea. My name is Kyle Gray. I'm a Denver homegrown native, and I ended up in Santa Fe. So I wear many hats. I'm a rock star in Denver. I guess we're a touring band, but the band's still up in Denver. And down here, I work at Meow Wolf. I'm a venue manager there, and then also throwing like DIY shows. I like to book my friends' bands that come through. That's what we do here at this roller rink. There's a handful of us that rent out the space, and then we also rent out certain nights that we can set up a stage right here, and people can be skating while they hear the bands play. So initially coming down here, I made friends with Eliza. She runs a DIY space called Ghost.
One of my favorite things about curating shows and working in the capacity that I have been with Matron Records is kind of fostering this certain kind of growth. I think that, creative people, no matter what your discipline is, if you're a musician, you're always experimenting, you're always having nerves for that first performance or whatever, or if you're a new band and you want the opportunity to play, but you need space to work things out. To be able to have even a small part in that, to just provide the space for that growth is the best, because they're doing all the work, but it's just lovely to provide that space. So of course, Sex Headaches is a great example as a band I've always watched and thought was awesome. They have such a raw, great energy on stage, and then to be able to just provide the setting for them to go crazy and do what they do best and have everyone love it. It's just amazing to watch these artists who have so much passion, and they just need that space to just let it unleash, and a safe space with people who are engaged to really create that two-way conversation that music performance is.
Like this space in particular is so special to so many people in Santa Fe, but it's like really, it's not thriving. So they do need to have like other things. Like they are very accepting. They used to throw raves here, like metal bands and bands that nobody would book and things like that, just because they wanted to create that culture. They continue to like have the doors open that for the space to this day, but it's like, how long is like all this actually going to last unless like we as like the community build the events and the relationships and the times for experiences to happen.
It's a very strange place. New Mexico is just a very strange place in general. But I believe in it, and I believe in the future of New Mexico, whatever that might be, because the people here are just like so resilient and strong, and they have so much to say.
This is my house. This is one of the more like unfortunate rooms in my house that I can't do anything about right now, but it'll get there. So yeah, I bought it. I have every intention of turning it into an art space, live work space. The garage is going to become a gallery. I want to show primarily local artists, artists that are working in conceptual craft, because New Mexico does have such a long-standing tradition of pottery making, of weaving, of dyeing, all of these things that are kind of like brushed aside in the art world is like, more craft. But I think there's a lot of inherent politic in that kind of work too, especially here, because pottery is made by women and the weaving is done by women. I really want this house to be a space where people can come together, they can learn something new, they can network creatively with each other, find new partners and opportunities for collaboration and professional expansion. It's gonna be good. It's a little wiggly right now. I'm still kind of sorting out the business plan. Long term, there will be like a full year's worth of programming, residency shows, a solo show for the resident artist every year, and workshops and education and just spending time with each other and growing the creative community here.
In northern New Mexico, one of the problems there is the young people are going away because they don't have a place to earn a living or go to school or whatever. So they move away, and they'll come back. I see a lot of young people wanting to work together. I think that's almost a part of youth, to be interested in working with others. So when you have the young people collaborating, I think you see a lot of energy. I'm very much a young people supporter, so it's not like, it's amazing to me what young people do. And the only problem that comes out of all that is there isn't necessarily the commercial value that gets attributed to it. And so, young artists end up doing other things like being waiters and waitresses and side jobs, stuff like that. But in terms of creativity, that's where I think you can find some really fine work being done.